when we found out about the drilling on our land, obviously it changed things for us as far as our horse operation. The first thing was the emotional angst, and Allison was really disturbed about what it was going to do to our property. We feel like we have a beautiful farm, and we've enjoyed it for 13 and a half years, and I know John Riley enjoyed it for 20 years, and it was just a place and a way of life that we sought out and that we look forward to enjoying in our later years. You know, this is not only our home, but it's also our retirement.
And we built up a wonderful reputation for what we did. We're commercial breeders. We have mares and babies here. Our clients trust us to foal their mares, rebreed them, sales prep their babies. There's a lot of money involved on our clients' part, and we have enjoyed an excellent reputation, and we've done very well in that field. Our farm lends itself to that type of an equine operation because of its location, the water, our extensive pastures, and the quiet, subdued atmosphere.
Well, we received a letter from Surface Specialties notifying us of their intent to drill, and they made an offer of $10,000 for the for us to sign their surface agreement. We had a great deal of concern about that because of the effect that it would have on our operation, but also of the effect that it would have on other people's horses that we had on the property. And we certainly were not going to sign the agreement for $10,000 absolving them of that liability. Of course, they never specifically responded to those specific concerns that we had, and we've done that with that letter, a subsequent letter, and then our lawyer sent them an email that had again detailed requests. They when they have written back, or when we've had communications with them, they that's never a starting point for what they demand or offer. They never have specifically responded to things like the types of fencing, the types of gates, what would happen to our irrigation system, the location of wells, that sort of thing. Since then, they've staked 6 different well sites on our 40-acre property. The initial well site was directly in front of our home in our largest paddock, which is about a 12-acre paddock that we irrigate with a side roll, and in which our brood mares and foals reside. Allison was very upset about that, and they subsequently came out and said that they would be willing to move the well site, and they staked a different site in front of our house and one in our northwest paddock, which would be, if we had to choose, it would be the ideal site for us. So at that time there were 3 well sites that had been staked.
Because what they did, which was just so disruptive to our lives, basically, they came out, did the staking right in front of the house, which really upset me. I'm very concerned about losing our pasture land and our irrigation capabilities. And if they went with that site, not only would it look terrible, secondly, we would have no way of irrigating, moving our side roll from north to south and back. So the gentleman knew I was, terribly upset about this. Well, then they came back and moved it and then staked that second well site. And then Mr. Craig Moody, who works for Gray Surface Specialties, sat here in this very chair and said, well, now, I probably shouldn't tell you this because they usually don't do this, but if you'll sign that surface agreement, I bet you they'll move that well way over there.
They still haven't come on our property. My interpretation of that is that all of those maneuvering, all of those maneuvers that they performed, the multiple stakings, the meetings, the letters, were merely intimidation tactics to try to get us to sign the surface rights agreement, because they had since then sold the property or sold their leases to Berry Petroleum. Keystone had, and I think they were trying to wrap it all up.
Gray Surface Specialty, Mr. McCollum, Ellis Gray, their attitude was, this is what you get. We're really not interested in negotiating, and that's that. And they were really not very professional, to tell you the truth. My husband's a physician. He's not, he's a professional. He's an extremely intelligent individual, and he was not being treated that way at all. So he wrote directly to Berry Petroleum, emailed a very respectful letter saying we would love to meet with them. We had never laid eyes on anybody from Berry. We would very much like to meet with them, and we agreed to come to their location in Midland and discuss this, but we did not want to deal with Gray Surface Specialties any longer because we felt that they really didn't want to negotiate.
I would say that in my dealings with the Railroad Commission, or actually my attempted dealings with the Railroad Commission, and what we've learned is that this is an agency that's not oriented to consumers. It's oriented to producers. Our concerns are nowhere addressed. It's not about the money, but everyone knows that when anybody says that it's not about the money, that's what it's about, and in reality, that's what it's about. This is what we have elected to invest in. This was our investment, and it was our retirement investment, and no one cares. They don't care. They have no regard, and I guess the question is, why should they have any regard for us? But it's not just us. It's the other people in our community. There's a lot of people besides us that are affected. Never going to the other environmental issues are never going to be sufficiently addressed by the present structure, the Railroad Commission or whatever. They're never going to deal with that little old lady that had to sell her house in Gardendale when they drilled the well, and they started having respiratory issues for the first time in their life. So again, it's a multifaceted thing, and yes, it's going to impact us personally, but we're not the only ones.